with a record.
The 80s produced some immortal musical titans, from hair metal to new wave, dark college rock to dayglow pop. However, some amazing bands from that era have been forgotten over time. 20. Animotion. Did you know that Animotion's hit Obsession wasn't originally their song? This synth-pop band from Los Angeles took the track to new heights in 1984. Formed in 1983 from the remnants of a retro science fiction band called Red Zone, Animotion quickly made a name for themselves in the new wave scene. Their rendition of Obsession, originally written by Michael DeBarz and Holly Knight, became a worldwide success, reaching number 6 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 5 in the UK charts in 1985. Following this success, Animotion released Let Him Go, which also cracked the US Top 40. However, internal changes soon disrupted their momentum. Key members departed, leading to significant lineup shifts. By the time they released their third album, only 2 original members remained, and despite the single Room to Move achieving some radio success in 1989, the band couldn't sustain their earlier acclaim and eventually disbanded. In 2001, several original members reunited, performing for a sold-out crowd in Portland, Oregon. They've continued to perform sporadically since then, even releasing a new album, Raise, in 2016. 19. The Outfield. Imagine a British band that found massive success in the US but remained virtually unknown in their homeland. That's the story of The Outfield, whose 1985 hit Your Love became an American anthem. Formed in London in 1984, the trio consisted of vocalist and bassist Tony Lewis, guitarist John Spinks, and drummer Alan Jackman. Their debut album, Play Deep, went triple platinum in the US, with Your Love reaching number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite their American success, The Outfield struggled to gain recognition in the UK. Their follow-up album, Bangin', released in 1987, didn't replicate the success of their debut, though it did produce the top 40 hit Since You've Been Gone. The band continued to release albums into the 1990s, but couldn't recapture their initial momentum. Tragically, guitarist John Spinks passed away from liver cancer in 2014, leading to the band's official disbandment. Tony Lewis pursued a solo career, releasing an album in 2018, but he too passed away in 2020. 18. Kaja Goo. Ever wondered how a band with a gibberish name topped the charts? Kaja Goo's Too Shy was a massive hit in 1983. Formed in Leighton Buzzard, England in 1978, the band initially performed as Art Nuvo before rebranding as Kaja Goo. Their unique name was inspired by the playful sounds babies make. With the addition of lead singer Limahl, they caught the attention of Duran Duran's Nick Rhodes, who co-produced their debut single. Too Shy quickly climbed to number 1 on the UK singles chart and made waves internationally. Despite their initial success, internal tensions led to Limahl's departure in 1983. The band continued without him, releasing singles like Big Apple and The Lion's Mouth, but they couldn't replicate their earlier triumphs. By 1985, Kaja Goo had disbanded. They reunited briefly in the early 2000s, even releasing new material, but never regained their former prominence. 17. SESESputnik. What happens when you mix futuristic fashion with punk rock? Enter SESESputnik, the British band that turned heads in the mid-80s. Formed in 1982 by former Generation X bassist Tony James, they were known for their outrageous image and eclectic sound, blending electronic music with glam and punk influences. Their debut single, Love Missile F111, produced by Giorgio Moroder, reached number 3 on the UK charts in 1986 and gained further attention after being featured in the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Despite the initial hype, their subsequent releases failed to achieve similar success. Their heavy reliance on marketing gimmicks, including controversial advertising and a futuristic image, led some to view them as more style than substance. By the late 80s, SESESputnik had faded from the mainstream, though they continued to have a cult following. 16. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Did you know that a BBC band propelled a song to the top of the charts? Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax is that song. Formed in Liverpool in 1980, the band consisted of Holly Johnson, vocals, Paul Rutherford, backing vocals, Mark O'Toole, bass, Brian Nash, guitar, and Peter Gill, drums. Their debut single, Relax, released in 1983, faced controversy due to its explicit lyrics, leading the BBC to ban it from airplay. Ironically, this censorship only fueled public interest, catapulting the song to number 1 on the UK singles chart, where it remained for 5 weeks. Following this success, the band released Two Tribes and The Power of Love, both of which also topped the UK charts, making them only the second act in history to have their first 3 singles reach number 1. Their debut album, Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, showcased their eclectic style and bold themes. However, internal tensions and legal disputes led to the departure of lead singer Holly Johnson in 1987, effectively dissolving the band. 15. Aha! Can a single music video revolutionize a band's career? For Aha, the video for Take On Me did just that. This Norwegian synth-pop trio, formed in Oslo in 1982, comprised Morten Harket, lead vocals, Mane Fuduholmen, keyboards, and Paul Vaktar Savoy, guitars. Their breakthrough came with the innovative Take On Me video in 1985, which combined pencil sketch animation with live-action sequences, captivating audiences worldwide. The song soared to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US and achieved global acclaim. Their debut album, Hunting High and Low, featured other notable tracks like The Sun Always Shines on TV and Train of Thought, further establishing their presence in the music scene. Despite this early success, Aha struggled to maintain the same level of popularity in the US with subsequent albums. However, they continued to enjoy a dedicated fan base in Europe and released several albums throughout the 90s and 2000s. The band went on hiatus in 2010, but reunited in 2015, demonstrating their enduring appeal. 14. The Fresh Can Sinatras. Ever heard of a band that started by banging on trash cans? The Fresh Can Sinatras did just that. Formed in Irvine, Scotland in 1986, this indie pop band began as a covers group, honing their craft on the local pub circuit. Their unique name reportedly originated from a school music class where students improvised on various instruments, including trash cans, leading someone to mention Frank Sinatra, and thus the band name was born. Their debut album, Cake, released in 1990, featured the hit single Obscurity Knocks, which garnered attention in the UK and the US. Despite critical acclaim, mainstream success eluded them. They continued to release albums throughout the 90s, including I've Seen Everything in 1993 and A Happy Pocket in 1996, but financial difficulties and changes in the music industry led to challenges. The band faced bankruptcy and even resorted to busking in the London Underground to make ends meet. Despite these setbacks, the Fresh Can Sinatras maintained a dedicated fan base and continued to produce music, with albums like Weightlifting in 2004 and In the Music in 2009. 13. The Replacements. Did you know that the Replacements were once banned from a venue for disorderly behavior? This Minneapolis-based band, formed in 1979, was known for their raucous performances and rebellious spirit. Consisting of Paul Westerberg, vocals, guitar, Bob Stinson, guitar, Tommy Stinson, bass, and Chris Mars, drums, they started as a punk band but soon incorporated elements of rock, folk, and pop into their music. Their 1984 album Let It Be marked a significant shift in their sound, showcasing Westerberg's songwriting prowess with tracks like I Will Dare and Unsatisfied. This album is often regarded as a classic, blending punk energy with melodic hooks and introspective lyrics. Despite critical acclaim, mainstream success remained elusive. The band's reputation for unpredictable live shows, often fueled by heavy drinking, contributed to their cult status but hindered broader appeal. Their 1985 major label debut, Tim, featured standout tracks like Bastards of Young and Kiss Me on the Bus, but internal tensions led to the departure of Bob Stinson in 1986. The Replacements continued to release albums, including Pleased to Meet Me, 1987, and Don't Tell a Soul, 1989, but disbanded in 1991 after their final album, All Shook Down. 12. The Men They Couldn't Hang. Did you know that a band once turned a traditional folk song into a punk anthem? The Men They Couldn't Hang did just that. Formed in London in 1984, this British rock band blended folk and punk influences, creating a unique sound that set them apart. Their rendition of The Green Fields of France, an anti-war song originally written by Eric Bogle, became a defining track, showcasing their ability to infuse traditional melodies with punk energy. The original lineup featured Stephen Cush, vocals, guitar, Philip Swill Ogers, vocals, guitar, tin whistle, melodica, Paul Simmons, guitar, bouzouki, keyboards, John Ogers, drums, percussion, and Shane Bradley, bass. Their debut album, Night of a Thousand Candles, released in 1985, received critical acclaim and solidified their place in the folk punk scene. Despite a dedicated fan base and successful tours, mainstream success eluded them. They disbanded in 1991 but reunited in 1996 and have continued to perform and record since. Their resilience and commitment to their craft have earned them a loyal following, and their music remains a testament to their innovative fusion of genres. 11. Rip, Rig, and Panic. Ever heard of a band named after a jazz album? Rip, Rig, and Panic took their name from a 1965 album by Roland Kirk. Formed in Bristol in 1980, this English post-punk band was known for their avant-garde approach, blending jazz, funk, and punk elements. The lineup included Sean Oliver, bass, Mark Springer, piano, sax, vocals, Gareth Sager, guitar, sax, keyboards, vocals, Bruce Smith, drums, percussion, and vocalist Nina Cherry, who would later achieve solo fame. Their debut album, God, released in 1981, showcased their experimental sound. They gained further attention with their appearance on the British sitcom The Young Ones, performing their single, You're My Kind of Climate. Despite their innovative style, commercial success was limited and the band disbanded in 1983. After the split, members pursued various projects. Nina Cherry launched a successful solo career, while others continued in different musical ventures. 10. The Sound. Ever heard of a band that critics loved but the public overlooked? The Sound is that band. Formed in South London in 1979, the sound emerged from the remnants of the punk band The Outsiders. Led by vocalist and guitarist Adrian Borland, they quickly became known for their post-punk sound and introspective lyrics. Their debut album, Jeopardy, released in 1980, received critical acclaim but failed to achieve commercial success. Undeterred, the sound released From the Lion's Mouth in 1981, showcasing a more refined sound and poetic lyrics. Despite the album's quality, it struggled to gain public attention, receiving little airplay. The band's inability to break through to the prominence of contemporaries like Joy Division and Echo and the Bunnymen left them as a hidden gem in the post-punk arena. The sound continued to produce music throughout the 80s, but internal tensions and Borland's mental health struggles led to their dissolution in 1988. Tragically, Borland died by suicide in 1999. 9. Club Nuvo.
Coming here for me, I wish that you just go away.
Did you know that a band that was formed from a breakup went on to top the charts? Club Nuvo's story is one of transformation and success. After the disbandment of the Timex Social Club, record producer Jay King formed Club Nuvo in 1986 in Sacramento, California. The group's name, French for New Club, signified a fresh start. Their debut album, Life, Love, and Pain, featured the hit single Lean on Me, a go-go cover of Bill Withers' classic. The song reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1987, showcasing their unique blend of R&B and pop. Other singles like Jealousy and Why You Treat Me So Bad also found success, with the latter being sampled by artists such as Lunas in I Got 5 on it. Despite their early achievements, key members Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy left to pursue production careers, leading to lineup changes. Subsequent albums didn't replicate the success of their debut, and Club Nuvo's prominence faded. 8. Vixen.
You grab your coat and you leave the room, and my heart is so.
Did you know that Vixen was one of the few all-female glam metal bands to achieve mainstream success in the 80s? Formed in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1980 by guitarist Jan Kuhneman, Vixen quickly made a name for themselves in the male-dominated rock scene. Their self-titled debut album, released in 1988, featured hits like Edge of a Broken Heart and Cryin', both of which climbed the Billboard Hot 100 charts. The band's classic lineup included Janet Gardner on lead vocals and rhythm guitar, Cher Ross on bass, and Roxy Petrucci on drums. They toured extensively with heavyweights such as Kiss and the Scorpions, fueling an international frenzy. Their second album, Rev It Up, released in 1990, continued their success, reaching number 52 on the Billboard 200. However, the rise of grunge in the early 90s led to a decline in popularity for glam metal bands, and Vixen disbanded in 1992. They reunited briefly in 97 and again in 2001, but internal tensions and lineup changes hindered their resurgence. Tragically, founder Jan Kuhneman passed away in 2013 after a battle with cancer. 7. Lips Inc. Ever wondered which band took us to Funky Town? That would be Lips Inc., the American disco and funk group from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Formed in 1979 by producer and multi-instrumentalist Steven Greenberg, the band featured lead vocalist Cynthia Johnson, who was also Miss Black Minnesota 1976. Their debut album, Mouth to Mouth, released in 1979, included the iconic track Funky Town. The song became a worldwide sensation in 1980, reaching number 1 in 28 countries and earning double platinum status. Its infectious rhythm and catchy lyrics made it a staple of the disco era. Despite the massive success of Funky Town, Lips Inc. struggled to replicate its popularity with subsequent releases. Their follow-up singles and albums failed to make a significant impact, and the group disbanded in 1985. 6. The Waitresses. Ever wondered which band gave us the catchy tune, I Know What Boys Like? That would be the Waitresses, an American new wave band from Akron, Ohio. Formed in 1978, they were best known for their singles, I Know What Boys Like and Christmas Rapping. The group was led by guitarist-songwriter Chris Butler, with lead vocals performed by Patty Donahue. Their debut album, Wasn't Tomorrow Wonderful?, released in 1982, featured I Know What Boys Like, which peaked at number 62 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. The song's playful lyrics and catchy melody made it a standout track of the early 80s new wave scene. Despite their initial success, the Waitresses struggled to maintain momentum. Their second album, Bruisology, released in 1983, failed to produce significant hits. Internal tensions and the departure of key members led to the band's dissolution in 1984.
I know what boys like, I know what guys want.
5. Till Tuesday.
In the dark I like to read his mind.
Did you know that Till Tuesday's hit Voices Carry was inspired by a real-life relationship? Formed in Boston, Massachusetts in 1982, Till Tuesday consisted of Amy Mann, lead vocals, bass, Robert Holmes, guitar, Joey Pesci, keyboards, and Michael Hausman, drums. Their debut single, Voices Carry, released in 1985, reached number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and remains the band's best-known song. The accompanying music video, directed by DJ Webster, received wide exposure on MTV and positive reactions from critics. It was nominated for numerous awards and is thought to be the reason behind the song's success. Despite the success of Voices Carry, Till Tuesday struggled to replicate its popularity with subsequent releases. Their second album, Welcome Home, 1986, and third album, Everything's Different Now, 1988, showcased Mann's evolving songwriting but failed to achieve significant commercial success. The band disbanded in 1989, with Amy Mann embarking on a successful solo career. 4. Johnny Hates Jazz. Ever wondered how a band with such a peculiar name achieved international fame? Johnny Hates Jazz did just that. Formed in London in 1985, the British pop band consisted of Clark Datchler, songwriter, vocalist, keyboards, and Mike Nocito, guitarist, bassist, producer, engineer. Their breakout single Shattered Dreams, released in April 1987, soared to the top 5 in the UK and reached number 2 in Japan. Their debut album Turn Back the Clock featured other hits like I Don't Want to Be a Hero and Heart of Gold, solidifying their place in the late 80s pop scene. However, internal tensions led to Datchler's departure in 1988, and the band's momentum waned. They attempted a comeback with new member Phil Thornalley, releasing the album Tall Stories in 1991, but it failed to make a significant impact. 3. 20 Flight Rockers. Did you know that a band named after a 1957 rock and roll song tried to revive the genre in the 80s? 20 Flight Rockers, formed in London in 1985, drew inspiration from 1950s rock and roll artists like Eddie Cochran and Elvis Presley. The band consisted of Gary Twin, vocals, Mark Laff, drums, Ian McKeon, guitar, and Jeff Vine, bass. They adopted a rocker style and wrote old school rock and roll blended with a punk rock attitude. Despite their energetic performances and a dedicated following, mainstream success eluded them. Their self-produced album Ride was scheduled for release in 1988, but due to label complications, it was shelved, leading to the band's breakup. 2. Visage. Did you know that Visage was at the forefront of the New Romantic movement? Formed in London in 1978, Visage was a British synth-pop band that became synonymous with the New Romantic fashion movement of the early 80s. The original lineup included Steve Strange, vocals, Rusty Egan, drums, and Midge Ure, synthesizers and guitar, with members from bands like Ultravox and Magazine contributing to their unique sound. Their self-titled debut album, released in 1980, featured the iconic single Fade to Grey, which became a defining anthem of the era, reaching number 8 on the UK singles chart and topping charts in several European countries. The song's haunting melody and stylish video captured the essence of the New Romantic aesthetic. Despite early success, internal tensions and changing musical landscapes led to the departure of key members, including Midge Ure, who left to focus on Ultravox. Visage released 2 more albums, The Anvil 1982 and Beat Boy 1984, but neither matched the impact of their debut. The band dissolved in 1985, with Steve Strange attempting various revivals until his passing in 2015. 1. Band of Susans. Ever heard of a band that featured 3 members named Susan? Band of Susans, formed in New York City in 1986, was an alternative rock band known for their dense guitar textures and avant-garde influences. The original lineup included Robert Poss, guitar vocals, Susan Stanger, bass vocals, and 3 guitarists, 2 more named Susan: Susan Lyall, Susan Tallman, and Alva Rogers. Their debut EP, Blessing and Curse, 1987, showcased their innovative approach, blending minimalistic repetition with powerful guitar noise. The subsequent album, Hope Against Hope, 1988, further established their reputation in the noise rock scene. Over the years, the band underwent several lineup changes, with notable members like Paige Hamilton, who later formed Helmet. Despite critical acclaim, mainstream success eluded them, and they disbanded in 1996. And there you have it, 20 bands from the 80s that once lit up the charts but have since slipped into the shadows. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more musical journeys. And be sure to check out our other videos too.